Good.
So we all have that one adult we look up to, whether they're fictional or not, and say, wow, I want to do what they're doing when I grow up. Whether it be a little girl watching Frozen for the first time, deciding she's going to be a princess, or a boy at a baseball game with his dad, deciding he's going to be a baseball player. It was no different for me. When I was in 8th grade, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I would change it on a monthly basis. That changed for me when I met a friend of my dad's. His name is Matt. He's a head chemical engineer at a nuclear power plant. And as an 8th grader, I had no idea about anything with nuclear power, so it was kind of intimidating. But as Matt started to explain the ins and outs of what he did at his job and how it worked, I became extremely fascinated with it. And as a junior in high school, that's still with me. That's why I'm here today talking to you guys about the amazing effects of nuclear power. The U.S. should convert to using more nuclear power for the betterment of the country. And there's a lot of stereotypes and concerns that surround it as a society as a whole. As a society, Americans view nuclear power as a radiation emitter that's harmful to us and the environment. And this became popular in the 90s when there was the 3 Mile Island accident here in Pennsylvania. And the insecurities of America was pushed even further when there was an unrealistic movie made about it. And the stereotype of deadly radiation is still around today. With the internet being so accessible, anyone can look up the effects of Chernobyl and see that there was radiation that was leaked. There was death that happened with it. And however, today people don't need to fear the labels that have been stamped on nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is becoming safer, and in the long run will be healthier and more beneficial for the United States. And referring back to the accidents I just mentioned, the 3 Mile Island accident, there was no radiation leaked, not a single injury, and there was nobody killed either. The president actually walked through the site to prove that there was nothing wrong with the accident and nothing actually happened. And the Chernobyl accident happened for 2 reasons alone. The first reason being the reactor was completely outdated and the structure itself was poorly constructed and just needed to be shut down. So that was an administration error that happened. It had nothing to do with nuclear power being bad. It was due to the fact that there were precautions not taken. And there are a lot of misconceptions about radiation and what it does to your body. There are things called low-level waste that you're exposed to on a daily basis. They diminish quickly and cause no harm to your body, and they're found in everyday things you don't even think about. They're found in your smoke detectors, your food preservatives, medical labs, and the hardeners in your hardwood floors. How many of you fly or have ever flown before? That's a lot of you. There is low-level waste in airplanes. A one-way trip from Tokyo to London exposes the flyer to 8 times the amount of low-level waste on an average, but it doesn't harm you. Nuclear power plants emit that type of waste, but they also emit high-level waste as well. But that high-level waste is transported by rigorously trained employees to a facility that's so safe it could be hit by a bomb and not even leak radiation. Not only is nuclear power safer, but it is also a lot cheaper than fossil fuels. It only costs 2 cents per kilowatt for nuclear energy, whereas fossil fuels is 4 times that amount. And the U.S. is predicted within the next 14 years to need 2,000 terawatts per hour, and nuclear energy is the only way that we're going to be able to sustain that. So how do we stop this is the main question. We need to pull away from fossil fuels as a society, and you can do this simply by unplugging your appliances when you're not using them, taking shorter showers, don't leave your cars running when you don't need to. All these things can help cut down on the emission rates. The less energy we use, the better. It's extremely harmful, causing more health and environmental issues than nuclear power ever will. Now, what I say next, I want everybody to picture this being done to your body. You're going to be put in a room that's filled with smoke that is so rancid you can't even breathe. The next thing is the temperature in the room is slowly going to rise to the point you're so hot you cannot take it. Now, it's not going to stop there. There's going to be a nasty carcinogen put into the room that's going to seep into your lungs and cause lung disease. And finally, there's going to be a gallon of water put in there for you to drink, but the water is going to be so polluted you cannot drink it. Now, what I just had you picture is what is being done to our Earth every single day that we use fossil fuels. If you don't want that done to your body, why would you want it done to the planet you live on? This can be stopped, though, with the amazing resources of nuclear power. But before we can get to that point, as a society, we need to pull back from using fossil fuels so much, and make it known that we need nuclear power. So what I'm asking you today is are you going to stay in the room, or are you simply going to open the door and get out?
So can nuclear energy only be used for like houses or buildings, or could it be like used or transformed to like for cars or like so we don't have that?
There are ways to condense nuclear fusion. The problem with that is right now is trying to contain it. I mean, if you had an electric car, you could power it. So I mean, you're cutting back on that emission too if eventually we got to that point.
Where would they like build these nuclear power plants?
That is, okay, nuclear power plants, they need a lot of water. So obviously it can be put out somewhere with a desert, but they can be put anywhere that they please to. Obviously away from cities, not right on the coast, just wherever there's room really that is safe.
Any plants near us?
There are a couple in Indiana. They're more in northern and southern Indiana though. You don't really see them a lot. And a lot of that has to do with where we're at. It's kind of hilly, so.
Yeah. If they can't put them in like deserts and stuff, like how are they gonna reach there? Do they just like?
There can be water reserves built. Yeah.
So like how far, like one nuclear power plant, how far does it like have its energy go?
I'm not exactly sure how far they go, but I can tell you there's only about 3 plants in Illinois, and 50% of its power comes from them. So it produces quite a bit of energy.
Do nuclear power plants, not put off any other type of emission?
They have absolutely 0 emission. And the waste from it, actually, whatever they don't transport to these like safe places, these new reactor designs, they're building them to where it goes back into the plant, so eventually we'll get to the point where there's absolutely no waste because it's just going right back in and being used again.
I may be, I don't know, maybe I'm off task here. When thinking about the water that you're talking about, is that used to cool the plants? Is that what the water is being used for? What is the water being used for?
The water is used for 2 reasons. Water has been how we've made electricity forever. So basically what it does is in any type of power plant, whether it be fossil fuels or nuclear, what it does is an energy made from that source will heat the water, which turns a turbine to make the electricity. So the water is used for that, but then also the reactors, because they have plutonium in them, they have to be cooled. So half of it's being used to make the electricity and half of it's being used to cool it.
And is that water now contaminated after it's been run through these plants?
It does have some contamination just like fossil fuels does, but the way that the nuclear power plants work is it doesn't go back into the environment like fossil fuels does.
Okay, good job.